And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the OSBP Learning Series, What to Know Before You Go, Countdown to Success Supplier Summit with Supplier Matchmaking Session. I would like to introduce our hostess for this afternoon's event, Ms. Trufillia Parker.
Renee, it sounds like True's a little, maybe having some technical difficulties. Would y'all like me to maybe introduce folks?
I'm so sorry, Kevin. We practiced this yesterday. I was on mute, so I apologize to the attendees. But I did want to welcome them again. And just, today's atmosphere is very relaxed. We wanted to provide an opportunity for the attendees that are planning to attend the March 30 event to kind of come prepared and get some information from our partners in the state of South Carolina. And that's what our goal is here today. So my name is Trufillia Parker. I'm a program specialist at the NASA Office of Small Business Programs in Washington, D.C. I'm going to turn it back over to Renee quickly for a few housekeeping notes, and then we'll be back to lead into the rest of today's agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Parker. Housekeeping. We wanted to bring your attention to the Q&A box and the chat box. We want to ensure that you understand the difference and how to use these two tools during today's webinar. For any comments like a technical difficulty or any type of interaction, please use the chat box for that function. But if you have a specific question regarding today's webinar from one of our panelists, please use the QA box. We will have a formal QA session after the final presenter concludes. Again, we use the QA box. This is where we will be using pulling our questions for the Q&A session. Please remember, keep your computers on mute when not speaking and videos off. Thank you. We will have a post-event survey that will be emailed out after this presentation, and we sincerely appreciate your participation in our survey. But while we have you here, we'd like to do some polling. So I'm going to open up a poll. You'll have about 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you to all please go ahead and start answering the questions in the poll of our attendees. Can please answer the polling questions. The first question is this your first webinar hosted by the NASA Office of Small Business Programs that you have attended? The second question is, how did you learn about this webinar? And I see you guys going, so I really appreciate your participation. We'll give you 5 minutes for this. In the meantime, we will move on. Trufillia, back to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. So now I'm going to just share a little bit about our organization at NASA at headquarters. So again, my office that I represent is the Office of Small Business Programs. And again, we are located at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. in the physically in the southwest area of the city. Our organization is under the leadership of Mr. Glenn Delgado, who is our associate administrator. And our vision is to promote and integrate all small businesses into the competitive base of contractors that pioneer the future of space, exploration, scientific discovery, and aeronautics research. And so that's one of the reasons why, we're happy to be here with you today. And we're also very happy and excited to partner with our friends in South Carolina for what we believe is going to be a really informative and educational event on March the 3rd. Just another note about our webinar series, our OSBP for Office of Small Business Programs, we do offer a monthly webinar series on the third Wednesday of each month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, we thank you for joining us today, and hopefully you'll be able to join us again in the future. Next slide. So now I'm going to take a few minutes to introduce our speakers. We have 3 dynamic speakers that have joined us from the state of South Carolina, and I will be introducing them in the order that they will speak on today's webinar series. So first up is Mr. Kevin Limehouse. He's a project officer, Office of the Deputy Charleston Administrator for the Charleston County. Kevin, I'll just say up off the top, has been just a great advocate for small business, and just a pleasure to work with as we've been planning for the March 3rd event. So I know that he's got something great in store for you today, as well as on March 3rd. But in his capacity with the County of Charleston, he works directly with staff to improve the services of the county that it provides to citizens, researches and develops efficient internal processes, and cultivates relationships with external partners by developing innovative projects and initiatives that result in community improvements. And I'll just put a pin in it there. At the end of this presentation, we will send a link to this file so you can have more time to spend with it. But definitely wanted to, celebrate and point out Kevin's efforts and partnership. And that's definitely what we've been able to do over these last few months in our planning. Next slide, please. Next is Mr. Stephen Dykes. He is the Executive Director of Economic Development for Charleston County Government, and he served as a director since the inception of its program in 1993. He is a native of Charleston, so that'll be great to hear someone who has home roots and is also interested in growing the small business community in that particular area. So we're excited to hear from Steve, and we're glad to have him on the team today and again on March the 3rd. Next slide, please. And our final speaker from South Carolina is Ms. Tammy Green. She is the Supplier Outreach Program Manager with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. And she serves as the Business Outreach Program Manager at the South Carolina Department of Commerce. And in this role, she is responsible for overseeing the small business and supplier outreach programs. And it's just really appropriate that Tammy was on the team. She's been very instrumental in the effort that we have to connect businesses with sellers, with buyers. And so you'll hear more about that from Tammy later today. Next slide. And then this is just a snapshot on me. Again, I'm Trufillia Parker. I'm a program specialist at our headquarters office in Washington, D.C. I'm primarily responsible for our organization's outreach programs, our external relations efforts. And again, just really happy to be on this great team with our partners from South Carolina to bring you a great program, an informative program today, but as well as a great outreach event on March 3rd. Next slide. So now we have our featured presentation. I am going to go on mute and I'm going to turn things over to Mr. Kevin Limehouse.
Hey, thank you, True. I appreciate it. Can everyone hear me okay? I hope I'm coming through all right. I'm
yes,
not
perfect.
Good, thanks, True. Always the new normal, making sure that we're working together with tech. I appreciate everybody being here today. I'm not going to take long. I want to get out of the way and let you get in touch with the folks doing some great work with you. But for the good of the order, appreciate everybody being here with us today. We wanted to have this webinar on what to know before you go, and it's being recorded so that everyone can access it at a time best for them. We appreciate everyone who was able to join today, but for those of you who watch it later, thank you for paying attention and checking out the resources that we have. What we want to share with you today is just a few things. This is just a snapshot of some of the stuff that you'll learn about on March 3rd that True was talking about earlier. But we want to make sure that you're successful in everything that happens on March 3rd. So Steve, who's our Executive Director of Economic Development, is going to talk to you about the amazing resources that we have available in Charleston County and why Charleston County is a great place to do business. And Tammy from the Department of Commerce is going to talk to you about the wonderful programs that they have and all that they are doing with the matchmaking portion that they're hosting on March 3rd, and we hope you'll take advantage of that. And then, of course, finally, True talking about everything that NASA has to offer. All of this is important because we want you to be successful in your business, and no matter what your business is, we have means to help you. There's going to be other folks at the event on March 3rd, such as the Small Business Administration or the South Carolina Research Authority and many others who can help your business be successful with NASA, or maybe some of their prime contractors, or anyone else that you happen to meet. The last thing that I'd like to highlight before I turn it over is that whether you have questions now, whether you have questions between now and the event on March 3rd, or most importantly, if you have any questions, ideas, comments, anything of the like after March 3rd, Charleston County is about partnerships and collaboration, and we enjoy working with folks, and we'd like to work with you and help you in any way that we can. So please think about us if you need anything at all. Very much appreciate your time. Staff is available to help you at your pleasure. And now I have the good privilege to turn it over to some folks who are really going to help you with that, and starting with my friend Steve. Steve, tell us about Charleston County, sir.
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's a real pleasure to be here with everyone this afternoon, and to be working with NASA, and also sharing the stage with my Charleston County colleague, Kevin Limehouse. It's also great to be sharing the stage with Tammy Green from the South Carolina Department of Commerce. We partner with SCDOC on a regular basis, whether we're recruiting new companies to the area or helping existing ones expand. And one of the most important aspects an existing company in our state can face is where they're going to source goods and services. And Tammy runs a very comprehensive and impressive supplier sourcing program. So you'll learn a lot from her here in a few minutes. If you don't know much about Charleston, we're a mid-sized metro located on the Atlantic seaboard, about halfway between New York and Miami. I know that's not incredibly specific, but that gives you a little bit of a feel for where we are. Many people know us as a vacation destination with our beaches, our restaurants, our shopping, our 17th and 18th century history and architecture, and tourist attractions. And we are all of that. In fact, we've been voted #1 tourist destination in the U.S. by Condé Nast Traveler and Travel and Leisure magazines now for multiple years. But we're a very prosperous mid-sized metro. To be exact, we're the number 74 metro in the U.S. And our population estimate for 2020 is a little over 800,000 people. So we fully anticipate achieving 1 million people by the next census. And we're about much more than vacations, as I think you'll see in a minute. We're going to go ahead and go to slide 1. Before I talk about the Charleston County Council Economic Development Mission, let me take you back in time a few years, and I'll give you a little bit of appreciation for how we came into being. In 1993, Charleston, South Carolina received some really terrible news, and that came from the Base Realignment and Closure Commission. And they had made a decision with very little warning, frankly, that the Charleston Naval Complex that had been in place for almost 100 years would close. That was 7 commands, including uniformed military that was present on submarines and surface ships. It included Navy Yard workers, and it included civil service workers, all told 22,000 jobs. So that was tantamount to the sky falling here. And it was really something that shook us to our core here. A lot of people wondered what the future held for us. As Mark Twain once said, the rumors of our death were greatly exaggerated. And so in fairly short order, we came together as a community and started to do some things to ensure a better future. County Council created our economic development mission at that time, along with the efforts to also redevelop the old naval base and to begin robust industrial recruitment to this area. So on the first slide, you'll see the three aspects of our county economic development mission, basically the recruitment of new business, growing our existing industry, and improving and safeguarding the Charleston business climate. And if we can go to the next slide. In order to recruit companies, it's a form of what I would call soft salesmanship. And to sell Charleston, you have to have a product. And the product in economic development is the community. So I like to call us a 25-year overnight success story. And that's kind of an ironic way of referring to what we've all done as a community, numerous organizations, certainly the Commerce Department, the Charleston County, its two sister counties, all of its cities, a regional group that we formed known as the CRDA. We've got quite a few players, our Chamber of Commerce involved in that as well. And so for 25 years now, we have formed an entirely different economic development culture, and we have gone at this with great seriousness. And the results have been very impressive, to say the least. What I think you need to understand at this point in time is that Charleston is a very globally connected place. We have improved and grown our airport in a quantum fashion, especially during the last decade, with around 5 million passengers flying in and out annually at this point. That's obviously been interrupted by COVID. I doubt I have to say that to anyone. But we fully expect that type of volume to return as soon as we get some normalcy. We've also got the Port of Charleston here in Charleston, and that consists of 4 different container terminals. We've got a really big one that's coming online, the U. Leatherman terminal, which will come online next year. That'll be the home of the gigantic post-Panamax ships that call Charleston. We actually put in a new bridge about a decade ago. We deepened our harbor, and we set the stage for the world's biggest ships to visit here. The port has continued, with record setting this year, even in the COVID environment. I think e-commerce has been a major driver to a lot of good port activity. We're also the home to multinational corporations. Mercedes-Benz Vans has got its NAFTA van assembly and construction facility here in North Charleston. Volvo Cars has got its only North American car plant in our sister county of Berkeley. Boeing is here building the 787. We're the exclusive home of the 787. And we also deliver those planes to international customers who come to Charleston to take possession of those. So it's really a colorful event over there when a plane is delivered. You can see anything from the ruling family of Qatar to Japanese dignitaries. It's really an amazing cultural addition to our city here. And then lastly, I would just point out that our cultural epicenter status has been in place for quite a while, courtesy of the Spoleto International Arts Festival. That's been in place for almost 30 years now, and has brought renowned worldwide entertainment here for a 3-week period every summer. Quite the cultural event, and it's part of dozens of festivals and things that bring our community together on a regular basis. We'll go to the next slide. The story I can tell you at this point in time very proudly, and again, 25 years later, is that our efforts have really resulted in a community that's much more recession-proof and much more resistant to disasters that can occur due to the time that we put into developing these 5 clusters, basically aerospace, automotive, international trade and logistics, life sciences, and IT and defense. And we have assets in each one of those categories that make that possible. Many communities aspire to these types of things, but obviously you have to have drivers that make that possible and give you that nucleus to grow from. Obviously in the case of aerospace, that is Boeing. They arrived here in 2009. That was perhaps one of the biggest events in South Carolina state history. It was a day that really shook the earth as far as we're concerned, and it certainly changed Charleston forever. We've got Boeing here at this point in time, 11 years into it, 11 going on 12, but in operation at least 10 at this point. building the 787, and they've moved other functions here as well that support other air platforms. And all told, current population out there at the plant is around 6,000. And anybody that is alive and watching the news these days knows that Boeing's had its challenges. But we see a bright future ahead for the 787 program as soon as the aerospace world is able to come out of this worldwide slump and this down cycle that I think everyone's suffering from. In the automotive world, I named the two big OEMs that are located right here in Charleston. There's a third OEM in the state up in Greer, which is near Spartanburg, and that is BMW, which is actually the oldest OEM in the state and the one that is a good 25 to 30 years in its maturation. International trade and logistics is our whole ecosystem here in Charleston is obviously built around the Port of Charleston and its facilities. In the life sciences world, our driver is the Medical University of South Carolina, one of the oldest medical universities in the nation, and I believe the oldest in the South. They have specialties in things such as oncology, eye care, pediatrics, and many of the breakthrough discoveries that are coming out of the research done by MUSC scientists that are being commercialized. And we've got a growing list of those types of commercialized ideas that are now, providing employment here in Charleston with these young startups. So we're very happy with life sciences. We think it's only going to get bigger and better, and it's in the process of doing that at this time. Also, I guess lastly, the information technology and defense sector here, very interesting from the standpoint that IT derives from at least three distinct places here in Charleston. There is the defense presence, which is very interesting in its own right, because we have a facility, federal facility here, formerly known as SPAWAR, which was the Space and Air Warfare Systems Command, which is a big clearinghouse for the award of R&D work, billions each year in R&D contracts. And we've got all the country's best and brightest EE firms here in Charleston to vie for and win those contracts. And in many cases, they're performing the work here. These are companies that tend to be based in San Diego or Virginia or Maryland. And we obviously, our effort every year is to try to attract more and more of that work to happen here in Charleston. We have a lower cost basis in many ways than the other places that they exist in the Beltway and in San Diego. So we're forever spreading that good word. But you can see how over a 25-year period, we go from being a place very dominated by a big military base and tourism and just a little manufacturing back in that era to a place that is thriving with manufacturing, but also IT, life sciences, and a vibrant port. And oh, by the way, robust tourism still in the picture. So we couldn't be happier, with where we find ourselves today. And you will see the distinction at the bottom. Before we change slides, I have to take a chance to do a little audacious bragging. This is actually a statement that was first uttered by one of my county council chairmen, and I just about swallowed my tongue at that particular announcement ceremony because I didn't know if it was true. But we are, in fact, the only county in the world that hosts a wide-body aircraft manufacturer and an automotive vehicle manufacturer. So there's, a fun fact to know and tell your friends. I guess we'll go to the next slide. Well, there we are. This is a slide that I'm going to take a little bit more time with, and I don't mean to be moving too fast, but at the same time, I want to be fair with our time element to my partners. This slide, I think, is a thing that is a real differentiator for Charleston County. There's a lot of counties in the United States that are in the economic development game that are all about the pursuit, and they're all about the headline and the announcement of a new company. we made a pivotal turn years ago, and we made a strategic decision to be more about the companies that are here already. And so while we are still very fond of bringing in newcomers, and we still commit resources to that in that direction each year, we really concentrate more in this department on existing companies. We want you to be happy when you're here. We want to address your challenges, remove your roadblocks, and put you in a position to win. We're not happy until you're the best plant in your family of plants. You know, we want your corporate headquarters to crow about how good things are in Charleston. And for the smaller companies that start up here, we do an awful lot of hand-holding that I think is invaluable and helps you, you know, get a firm foundation on the ground and grow from there. I mentioned on this slide workforce solutions. Here we're talking about directing companies to workforce development entities such as Ready SC, resources such as SC Works, which is a state-based program that includes training and testing entities and resources. We're tied into statewide groups that sponsor apprenticeship programs and can help an employer, you know, quickly plug into and form a network of apprenticeship candidates. We are tied into Trident Technical College, which is our 2-year college here in Charleston that specializes in vocational type training and also offers continuing education. I will say also they've got an advanced aircraft or advanced aerospace training facility, a beautiful $60 million facility that came online last year. It's still very young and very new, but it's got a robust curriculum and it's gaining strides as we speak in terms of being a great asset to Boeing and a great asset to the entire aerospace and advanced manufacturing community here. We've got a president at Trident Technical College that I think is easily unsurpassed in the state of South Carolina and has been at it for a long time, and it just just a crown jewel in the state's training programs. We also offer job fairs and outreach to citizens to help companies find employees. You know, under the marketing support, what I can tell you is that we attend trade shows and conferences representing our local industry sectors. We facilitate B2B with our existing companies, and we promote press coverage and publicity for the accolades and accomplishments of our companies. I skipped over real estate. Real estate is on this list because it is actually something we offer young companies that are in startup mode in terms of the first space or even the second or third generation of space that they're seeking. You know, we work very closely maintaining a database of buildings and sites, and we're very tightly networked into the real estate community here in order to be able to give you short list of properties almost instantly to help you get out and start kicking around and understanding where you may want to set up your business. On the sector initiatives front, we work closely with several statewide organizations, SC Bio, the Charleston Defense Contractors Association, Digital Corridor, the Low Country Manufacturers Council, and state-related entities that represent logistics, aerospace, and automotive industries. And we play the role of trying to marry up the local level company concerns with the legislative lobbying and other efforts that are occurring at the state level by those bigger groups. And so what you find time and again in the state of South Carolina, I think one reason that our state is so incredibly successful is the partnership element in South Carolina. We don't believe in wasting effort. We don't believe in wasting resources and duplicating each other. We're instead very collaborative and very efficient. And I think you find that from the moment you step foot in our state and start talking to any of us. And then lastly, I'll mention incentives. We do have a robust package of incentives that are available courtesy of our General Assembly. They have been out on the cutting edge with incentives since the late 80s. And that's one reason you see a state that actually is the strongest per capita in reverse investment than any state in the union. So we literally have more international companies per population than anywhere in the United States. And it's because we're pro-business, unashamedly pro-business, to include incentives. I partner up routinely with the South Carolina Department of Commerce to assemble tax credits, property tax relief, site development grants, and workforce training support for expansions by local companies. And we use an economic development fund that Charleston County created to tackle infrastructure issues for our companies, which can include water and sewer extensions, telecom, and in some cases road work, modification to roads around the businesses. And I think we'll go ahead and forward to the next slide. And I will wrap up here quickly. We've got a slide we included with testimonials, and we certainly won't belabor reading the testimonials, but in this case, you'll see testimonials from CMMC, which redeveloped the Charleston Navy Yard, and also from the former Boeing Vice President and General Manager. These testimonials mean a lot to us because they're the main evidence that we have that we're hitting the mark with our companies. So we included these, for you to be aware of how we're being received by our companies here. So that's really, I'm going to wrap up at this point, and I'll certainly be ready for Q&A when that comes along. And if we go to the last slide, you'll see some contact information here for me and also for Jennifer Brown, who heads up our business development division. And she's the one that is our in-house expert on the business concierge program. So this will be available to you. And at this time, it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce Tammy Green, our colleague from the South Carolina Department of Commerce. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Just again, technical issues. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So appreciate that introduction, Steve, and I'm gonna dive right into it. I have a lot of information I wanna cover today, but good afternoon, and thank you guys for the opportunity to participate on the call today. As everyone mentioned, I'm Tammy Green with the South Carolina Department of Commerce. I'm just pleased to have the opportunity to partner with Charleston County and also NASA to bring the matchmaking session of the Countdown to Success Summit. I'm definitely going to provide some details on what you need to know before you attend a matchmaking session. But first, I just want to take a few minutes to kind of give an overview of our agency, some of the services that we provide, our division, and more specifically about our business outreach initiative. And so, again, the South Carolina Department of Commerce, we are considered the lead economic agency, economic development agency for the state, working in conjunction with local economic developers like Steve and his great team to recruit industry into the state. And so Steve mentioned a few examples of companies like Boeing and Volvo, to name a few of the larger companies that are recognized throughout the state. But again, none of these announcements could be possible, without the great team such as Charleston County and Steve and his folks working with Commerce. And certainly Steve touched on it a lot, which is talking about relationships and partnerships. And we realize that we can't do it all, not one entity. And so that's why we rely heavily on our partners throughout the state to help make things great for our company. And actually, I was on a call this morning, and we were talking about all the different services that are offered and what makes South Carolina unique, and it is definitely those partnerships. And I'll get into that a little bit in greater detail. But a little bit about our agency, Commerce. Oftentimes we are confused with the chamber, and although our chambers are great, that's not our focus. We are a state agency, a cabinet agency, which means that our leadership is appointed by the governor of South Carolina. And we're led by Secretary Bobby Pitt, who is a great ally for manufacturing. He's a great person to know, and so we're excited to have his leadership. Again, our agency is dedicated. We have a dedicated team that is focused on recruitment. But after a company is recruited, once they're announced, they become what is considered existing industry. And that's where our team, I fall under business services. So that's where after a company is announced, they're existing, and that's where our services come into play. So I'll talk a little bit about business services, but don't want to get bogged down in too many of the details. But again, we're here to promote growth and development of our new and our existing companies in South Carolina. We have a really robust existing industry program where we have dedicated site managers that go out and visit our manufacturing facilities and figure out what's going on, what's going on in their world. If there's like workforce issues, if they're experiencing issues or need connections, that's where our team comes into play and make those connections throughout the state. Very robust recycling program. The goal of that team is to help large manufacturers eliminate waste streams, help them to streamline their processes. So really robust. And then where I fall into play is our small business supplier outreach. So I oversee those two programs, and I'll definitely touch on those in a second. And then last, we have what I call our key accounts and special projects. And then there's also an emergency support function under that. So anything related to disasters, or any kind of natural disasters, we have a team in place that is ready to support our businesses here. And that's no matter COVID related, or if we have a tornado or hurricane, there are systems in place that our team heads up, and we're ready to help companies as they are experiencing those issues. Again, business services, we're considered the service after the sale. So we provide business connections with, again, our resource partners and our programs, and this results in our companies being more productive and more profitable. Next slide. Oh, no. This is the slide where I want to be. So I talked a little bit about commerce, talked a little bit about business services. Now I'm going to get more into detail about business outreach. And that's, again, the team that I work oversee. And our goal is really just to provide access to tools, networking opportunities, referrals to agency partners, and direct customized assistance. Next slide, please. So how can we assist companies? What do we do? Our goal is really to provide what we consider mutually beneficial connections for our South Carolina businesses. So we have many tools to help with that. The first is our business resource website. So it's scbizdev.scommerce.com. So that is pretty lengthy. But once you get to that site, there's just a large amount of information that's available to companies, both small and large, to help you kind of grow and navigate. We have a directory of various assistants that can help you from funding to workforce recruitment opportunity. Next slide. So what else does the business outreach team do? We provide opportunities for small business forums. We have our Size Up tool. So with the small business forums, and keeping in mind that small businesses are identified as 500 employees or less. So that's still a pretty large number of company size. So, we have these different forums that connect small business with financial, operational, business development resources. They may be virtual right now but due to the pandemic, and hopefully we'll start getting those back in person. But again, we realize at the South Carolina Department of Commerce that we can't be all things to all companies. And so that's, again, where we rely heavily on our partners to help companies with financial information or other business resources. The next thing I want to talk briefly about is our Size Up tool. I highly recommend, particularly if you're a small, medium-sized company, to go to our website and check out our Size Up tool. It is a great way for a company to evaluate the South Carolina market and their competitors. So it won't give you the name of your competitors, but it certainly will give you an idea of what types of companies that are out there. And I tell entrepreneurs all the time, if you're thinking about opening a business, you need to go and check out our Size Up tool first, because it gives you an idea. If you're trying to open up a coffee shop in downtown Charleston, if you go to Size Up tool, it'll give you an example of how many are in a certain radius, and you may realize that might not be where I want to open shop. So highly recommend that tool for you to take a look at. If you're in need of, and I want to back up a little bit, I mentioned about partnerships, so I definitely want to make you guys aware that we partner with folks like the SBA, our Small Business Administration, SBDC, South Carolina Small Business Development Centers, or even the SCDOT. So they have programs for small and minority-owned companies as well. So we just want to make sure that you all know that we definitely partner a lot. And so if there's anything that you need and we can't provide, we certainly will make sure that we get to the right resource. So a little bit about the supplier piece. So if you are a company in need of a product, component, or service, you certainly need to check out our Source at Sea site. It is a free online portal to help local suppliers find what they need, and it's a great way for you to be listed as a local supplier within the state. Let's see. Source SC has been around for a while. We're continuously trying to improve it. Its searching capabilities, and this is, again, no charge to you as a company in South Carolina. The only requirement is that you have to have a physical presence or a physical location in the state. So for instance, you can't be a sales rep representing a company that is not physically located in South Carolina. And that is our way of keeping things local, keeping it here in the state, allowing our small, medium companies to get more business. Another thing we pride let me back up again. So once you sign up for Source SC, you'll get notified of all of our B2B networking outreach events that we conduct throughout the state. You'll also be included in sourcing requests. And what is a sourcing request? This means that when a company reaches out to us, to one of our team members, if they're looking for a particular commodity or service, if it fits within your warehouse or fits within your area of expertise, we will contact you and we'll say, hey, we have a South Carolina company, they're looking for X. Does this fit within your warehouse? And then we'll connect the two of you together. And then again, this is a way for you to be listed to get more business for your company as well. And then finally, once you sign up for Source SC, you'll be listed in our Source SC Industrial Directory on our Commerce page. And again, that's free advertisement for you. One thing I will say about the Source SC database is that it is not meant to be business development tool. So we do keep some information confidential. Other customers will not be reaching out to try to solicit or sell you things. So we definitely keep those things under wrap. And so we make sure that the individual that's reaching out to you or the company that's reaching out to you is indeed in need of your service or your product and not just trying to sell something. Some of the requests that we received, you know, our team is working on several requests right now, but just to give you an example, you know, someone may reach out for plastic injection molding. They may reach out for a machine shop or some kind of cybersecurity. During the height of COVID, our team handled over 215 responses to supplier needs, companies adjusting their operations, their business needs, and also South Carolina companies that wanted to donate. So we are heavily involved with that. You know, because of this, we were able to keep our companies were able to keep their transportation costs down, and jobs were kept in the state. So we're very proud about these initiatives. Next slide, please. So some other tools or services that our team offers, again, is that initial supplier support. You know, once a company announces or is new into South Carolina, you know, we help them from start to finish, from pre-construction all the way through making a widget. And we provide several sources, again, at no charge to them. We can serve as the temporary point of contact, and we definitely did that with Volvo when they were new into the state. We had a designated or dedicated email address, and so as all different suppliers throughout the state wanted to do business with Volvo, we set up an email account that companies could go in, they could list their company, their capabilities, and then when Volvo was ready to use that information, we turned it over to them. So we definitely want to be supporting our companies as they are doing to the state. And we understand that can be really overwhelming process when they are trying to construct a building as well as trying to work with suppliers. So we help with that. Our outreach events, you know, for those companies that are new into the state, or if a company is expanding, we invite contractors, subcontractors, and suppliers to one space and allow them to learn more about that company and capabilities and what they're looking for. We have even provided this service for some out-of-state companies that were looking to expand their southeastern supply chain. So just depending on the nature of the project and how large it is, again, it's all about getting more support for our companies in the state. B2B matchmaking events, that's why you guys are here, to learn more about the B2B event and NASA, so I'll get in greater detail about that. But again, it's just an opportunity for local South Carolina suppliers to be connected one-on-one with a larger company or larger entity to learn how that they can for business. And then we have our supplier optimization support, I call it that SOS, and this is for suppliers who currently have a contract with a larger OEM tier one, but that supplier is struggling a little bit. So we have mechanisms in place to help that supplier get back up to speed. So next slide, please. So, you know, I can't say enough that COVID certainly hindered the way we do business, particularly trying to help our small companies grow, our medium-sized companies grow, certainly has hindered our ability to have more events, because normally we have several events each year. Again, mutually beneficial networking opportunity to grow South Carolina companies. So this is 3 events that we have going on for 2021. As we speak right now, we're on day 2 of Stream, and this was in conjunction with North Carolina. So this is the first time that North Carolina and South Carolina have partnered up together to have an event to promote supply chain and supplier growth. So that event took place. Again, if you sign up for Sources C, you would have received an email about this in more detail on how to sign up. Again, March 3rd is the NASA event. This is virtual as well as streamed. Then you'll have an opportunity to meet with NASA, the NASA centers, as well as their prime contractors, and you will even have an opportunity to partner or matchmake with some of our local partners, such as the SBA and the SBDC, because again, the services that they're offer is invaluable to small business. And then our last event that we have so far on the calendar is May the 11th. So we have our South Carolina Automotive Summit that takes place every year, and that's a really large event that's held in the upstate, usually in Greenville. This year it's going to be virtual, so day 1 of that summit, we will have our virtual matchmaking event. Again, you as a supplier will team up with OEM Tier 1s in the state. You'll have about 15 minutes to converse with them and tell about your offerings and your services. Next slide, please. So why are you here and what do you need to know? So with the NASA Matchmaker, we're definitely excited about it. If you see on your top left, these are some of our community partners. So it's the SBDC, SBA, and then Commerce will have someone from our small business team there as well if you want to match with them. Some prime contractors that work with NASA, and then the NASA centers. So once you sign up for the matchmaker session, you will receive a separate email asking you to register with our Eventia platform. This is the platform that's being used for the event. You will go in and then you will select appointments with the various NASA centers, the prime contractors, and our community partners. And one of the other things that I forgot to mention, you will receive an appointment link. So once you receive that link, click on that link during your appointment time, and then you'll connect with the various folks that you made an appointment with. So a couple things that you need to know, just be prepared. Excuse me, you're only going to have about 10 to 15 minutes to connect with these folks. So just remember, you're not signing a contract. This is an opportunity to learn more about that center, more about that partner, more about that contractor. You may have some homework to do. They may tell you that there's some other things that you can do in order to start business with them. But it's really an exploratory type appointment. What is the next step for you as a supplier to get connected with these folks? And that's just, keeping an open mind is the biggest thing. And again, definitely being prepared. We always say, have your elevator pitch ready, but definitely what is it that you can do for these centers? What is it for prime contractors? And let's see. Next slide, please. Can you go back one? Sorry. So just a couple things to keep in mind is that the deadline for the session will, the deadline to sign up is February 23rd, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's the link again, but I'm sure that we'll send this information out to you so that you can get connected and sign up for the matchmaking session. Next slide. And again, I just wanted to quickly introduce folks on the business outreach team. We have Sonia Barclay. She's the Small Business Outreach Manager. She, you'll probably be talking with her if you decide to match on March 3rd, as well as Dayton Ward. Dayton is the Supplier Outreach Manager. And, you know, if you have sourcing requests, those more often than not will go to Dayton. He kind of heading up these efforts. Next slide. So I think that's it for me. Here's my contact information. I'm certainly excited to answer any questions that you all may have. And again, if you're welcome to reach out to myself or anyone on the team if you have any questions. And I'm going to turn it back over to Drew.
Hi, thanks, Tammy, and also thanks to Kevin and to Steve for just a great wealth of information to make sure that people are prepared and informed on how to participate at the March 3rd event. So I'm excited about that. So I'm going to share a little bit with you from NASA's perspective on, you know, what you need to know before you go to the event. So we can go on to the next slide, please. So you'll hear this today and you'll hear it again on March 3rd, but the recurring theme with our agency is to do your homework. And it really is the best way to not only prepare to participate at one of our outreach events or at an outreach event, but also in just preparing to engage with our NASA centers. I think we'll go into it later, but you know, NASA has 10 centers as well as one federally funded research and development center. And they're located all over the country, each with their respective unique buying requirements. And so that's where doing your homework is a benefit to you. And it's also a benefit to the center that you might want to reach out to. So at NASA, we have our small business specialists. Each federal agency has small business specialists, and we have at least one at all of our centers. Some of our centers have more than one. And as you do your research and get to know more about our agency, you'll be able to identify those centers for yourselves. Also on March 3rd, you'll hear from some of our primes, and some of those individuals will be the small business liaison officers at their respective companies. And so those are also individuals that you want to make sure that you reach out to and start to build a relationship with them. As I mentioned earlier, each of our centers has their own respective and unique buying needs, but NASA also has various missions. So at our website, nasa.gov, you can learn so much about our key missions, our Artemis and Gateway, our current missions, and how your company might fit into supporting a piece of that mission. So we encourage you to, to do your homework in that respect. And that those missions support a variety of products and services. You may not be able to supply the full requirement, but you can support a piece of that. And so we'll definitely talk about a little later about the importance of subcontracting efforts in NASA. We'll also encourage you to respond to sources, sought notices, and requests for information. Our associate administrator, Glenn Delgado, that is something that he is passionate about, and he will share that a little more information about how you can benefit and how you can effectively respond to those types of inquiries at the March 3rd event. But definitely, when you have an opportunity to respond to a sources sought notice, you want to respond to that particular notice and not necessarily if you've had something prepared for a previous response to just apply that, but you want to make sure that your response is unique and answers whatever that particular ask is, and that's key. And then finally, to use your small business resources at our agency, we have our small business specialists. They're definitely your advocate. Definitely reach out to them. I always share that I think they are incredible. I know some of them are on this webinar now just listening, but they support their center. And so their workload is, at times massive and, with competing priorities. So if you reach out to a small business specialist and they may not respond immediately, just, remain persistent, but understand that they definitely will respond back to you and that they're working hard on the behalf of small businesses in their community. So the other resources we wanted to mention are our agency acquisition forecast. It's on our website, osbp.nasa.gov, and we have a link to it there. Our agency acquisition forecast is updated twice a year in May and October. So this coming May, you'll have an opportunity to receive that update or view that updated acquisition forecast, but that is there and it's available for your use and for you to explore. And then we also, our procurement technical assistance centers, much like the County of Charleston, when the Office of Small Business Programs, we like to partner with other organizations to help and support small businesses. So in the past, we've had events where we partner with PTACs, but they're definitely a great tool and resource to you as a small business to get you the information and education that you need to be successful. And then, of course, the Small Business Administration. I think Kevin mentioned earlier that we will have participation from the SBA at the March 3rd event, but also take an opportunity to, view the SBA's website if you haven't done so prior to. There's a wealth of information there. On the website, the SBA also offers just a multitude of learning opportunities. So feel free to sign up for their various distribution lists and to become aware and made so that you're able to participate in some of the offerings that they have. And also trade associations. We definitely look at those as a great tool and resource. One that comes to mind that we partner with often is the U.S. Women's Chamber of Commerce. I know that they have a very active and robust program. And so just those, but they also have information education that they can provide to you as a small business. And that's just one example. There's the Hub Zone Council. So there's all these different types of organizations that are there to support you in your work in small business. And then again, outreach events. Tammy mentioned some of the outreach events that her organization has. I think later in my slides, you'll see that we have some of ours listed on our website. I know that we're in this time of COVID, so we've had to shift and pivot in how we do things, but we're all here today, and we're glad about that. We're glad to have the opportunity to continue the outreach that we need to do to support you. So next slide, please. So this is a snapshot it's a map of the U.S., but it's just a snapshot of what where our small business specialists are. And again, we have 10 centers and one federally funded research and development center. That is JPL, which is the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And they are located in Pasadena, California. And again, this is just an opportunity for once you start to build the relationships, you've done your research, you know which center you want to target, and just a great way to put a face with the name. Next slide. And on this chart, we have listed all of our centers, including JPL. We have them grouped out by the center type or where their focus is. So we have our research centers up top, and then we have our space centers, our One Science Center, which is Goddard Space Flight Center. For those in the DC metro area, that's the center that's closest to us. It's in Greenbelt, Maryland. And then again, JPL, which is in Pasadena, California. And then NSSC is our NASA Shared Services Center, and they are an agency-wide resource center. And Troy Miller will just mention him. He's a small business specialist there. And so as you go to our website, you'll learn more about what each center buys, and that'll help better direct you as to which small business specialist you might want to reach out to. Next slide. Well, that's great. So this is my contact information. Again, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email. Again, we're just really excited to partner with South Carolina on this for this event. Again, I just want to thank Steve and Kevin and Tammy for not only the partnership, you know, in the planning process of the March 3rd event, but definitely for taking time out today to join us and to have this discussion. So I believe what we're going to do now is open it up for Q&A, and I'm going to turn it back over to Renee Cruz. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trufillia, and thank you to our panelists. This was really good information and insight. And so to our attendees, we don't want you to be shy. Please do post your questions in the Q&A portion of the chat. We only had one that I will ask, and then we have a few prompting questions that we hope will be relevant to you. One of the questions from the chat would be, when do we reach out to get the appointments? And regarding our upcoming March 3rd event, I would say that our sessions are matchmaking is now open. Please do register. And I'll ask Ms. Tammy Green to please come online to maybe give a little more insight of when our attendees can register and get their appointments for matchmaking.
Yeah, so if you've already signed up for Eventbrite, you will receive in the next few days another link that links you to actually signing up for the center. So that should be coming to you by next Monday if you haven't received it yet. We're still working through that. But you need to sign up through Eventbrite first, and then from that where we will send out a separate link for you to go and match those different sites.
Thank you so much. We have a question that asks, where will the March 3rd event be held? This is a virtual event, so it will be held online. And registration is currently open. But if Mr. Kevin Limehouse from our Charleston County partner office would like to jump in to talk a little bit more, please do.
Renee, you covered it. Y'all, if you like to join us online, we'd love to have you, and registration's free. Please visit our website. The quickest way to do it, I guess, without spelling out the website address for you, is if you search Charleston County NASA, you'll come across our Charleston County page, and I'll put a link to it in the Q&A here in just one second. But that'll link you to all the information you need and all the Eventbrite registration as well, and certainly any contact of us if you have any questions in the meantime.
Thank you so much, Mr. Limehouse. We do have a question, actually, Kevin and Tammy, whoever would like to take this one. The question reads, I came across this webinar on Eventbrite. My company is based in Alabama. Can I register for the matchmaker, or is it for South Carolina businesses only?
Sorry, it took me a second to get to the right button. No, we're welcome. We'd love our friends from Alabama to join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This next question is for any of our panelists who would like to answer. And this question reads, how would a vendor or a small business engage with Charleston during COVID to discuss upcoming requirements?
So that's an excellent question. And as a follow-up, I'm doing my best to put in chat the link here. Renee might have some technical difficulties, so I'm going to email it to you and ask you if you wouldn't mind putting it in the chat for me. But Charleston County is open for business regardless of COVID. So we're able to meet with you virtually. We can even do it old school and do it over the phone if you like, but there's a tremendous number of resources that we have available for you. So if you like Zoom or Teams or WebEx or whatever the question, preferred program, we can talk to you virtually. And we, given the right circumstances, we can even arrange some social distance meeting. But we're full service regardless of COVID. We can help you, no problem.
Thank you so much. I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, and Tammy gave a great overview of how the matchmaking sessions work. We have another prompting question, which would be, I know I only have 15 minutes for matchmaking sessions. What would be, sorry, I'm trying to read the question. How can someone become successful at the matchmaking session?
Tammy might have some good words to add in here, but I would remind everybody, matchmaking is kind of like the first date, right? Using that phrasing. Like, I think, please keep in mind that as you continue forward talking with NASA or talking with companies, that there are resources available to you. Continue to talk with the folks that you meet there on the 3rd and allow us to help you be successful and just keep those relationships going. But the other thing, Tammy certainly can speak to this, is they are, to give them a little bit of a big head, pros at connecting you with folks that are relevant. So if you have areas of interest, they're making sure to put you in touch with people that are meaningful to the work that you're trying to do.
Thank you. The part 2 to that is, will companies have the opportunity to share their company material or capability statement at the matchmaking session?
Tammy might be able to chime in here a little bit too, but with it being virtual, the only thing that I mention is certainly you'll have those 15 minutes for conversation, but consider making sure that you have email addresses ready and the means to communicate through those methods. But I think that sharing any files, information, or otherwise should be fine. Just be mindful we're in a virtual setting, so it's not like you can hand over a business card.
Hi, Renee.
Excellent response. Yes.
I was going to say, while Tammy's coming on, I just also mentioned, and I'll put it in the chat, that from NASA's perspective, we have a NASA vendor database where we collect information on companies that are interested in doing business with us, and we primarily use it, to reach back out to them, to keep you up to date on our outreach opportunities. But it's also a chance for you, if you register, to input, your capability statement overview of your company, so we can have that, post event. So I know Tammy's going to respond to the matchmaking piece of it, but I'll put the link into the chat for the NASA vendor database if anyone is interested in registering there.
It looks like we might have lost Tammy in that case. Dayton, are you available to maybe step in?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. You'll hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. I'm sorry. Now, how can I be of assistance?
Yes, can you just share a little bit more about ways for vendors to be successful during the matchmaking sessions?
Sure. So, Kevin touched on, with this not being a face-to-face encounter, it's good to have things like your B card set up so that you can share all of your contact information, with these potential primes. And, if one idea would be to have, a short set of slides up so that if you wanted to share your screen as you talk about who you are and what your services are, that too would be a good option, because like you said, it's a small window of time for us to meet. And as Kevin said, it's a first impression. So, I would just emphasize, preparing short, concise information and any additional details should there be a follow-up later on. Let me share my video here. There we go. Great. Let's see. Other options or opportunities. Mention the slides, having any B cards, contact information, readily available, would all be, great first starts. Forgive the background. I'm in the office today.
Dayton, I know you're working on something there. I know that I'm bringing Tammy back into the meeting, bringing her back up as a panelist. Do you want us to kind of move on to another question and then come back?
Hey, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Perfect timing. Yes.
Gosh, my many apologies, guys, because this is a perfect example of technology working or not working. I purposely came into the office today so I wouldn't have any technical issues. But just to go back, and I think Dayton and everyone else said it, I said earlier, you're not there to sign a contract. You're really there to cultivate a relationship. This is the first step in learning what it is for you to be successful. And I think, again, everybody's touched on it. Do your homework ahead of time. Do not, when we send out the link, we will send out information on all of the different prime contractors, and we'll send out information on all the different NASA sites. And so we'll give you a blurb about each site and what their expertise is. And the key to it is not, if there are 15 sites, don't sign up for all 15 sites. Really look at and evaluate what service it is that you offer and how you could be of assistance to NASA. What is it that you're bringing to the table to help make NASA successful, as well as yourself? So again, that's the thing that we always recommend to companies, is that just because you have the opportunity to meet with all of the different sites, just be strategic so that you can make a great first impression with them, as well as making South Carolina look good. So yeah, that's the advice that we would give. And again, my apologies about that technical issue.
Absolutely understood. What else can we do in this virtual environment? Thank you so much for coming back to us, Tammy. So I do have about 2 more questions, I believe, from the chat. We already do work for NASA JSC Houston. We've not heard from any other offices. Is there advice from the panel?
Yes, I will put in, if they could email us directly, we can follow up. I'll include in the chat our small business email address, and they could just address it to me, and in the subject include this. We can follow up. We're happy to do that.
Thank you, Trufillia. I have a really good question from the Q&A, and it says, please advise to the best way to use the matchmaking event to show interest in becoming a subcontractor to a prime.
Well, I would definitely, one is, register for the event. I would say register for the event first, because the primes that are participating in matchmaking are offering a panel discussion on how to engage them at the event and afterwards. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for you to learn about the primes and how to engage with each of those companies, and then definitely register to sign up for matchmaking and see if you can get an appointment with some of our primes that will be participating. I also send the link to our website. On our website, we have our top 20 contractors, I believe, for FY 2020, and there's links to their websites. And I say that because earlier in my presentation, we mentioned reaching out to the small business liaison officer at that company. And that's also a great way to do homework before you go to, this event or any event. So that would be my recommendation prior to the March 3rd event.
Thank you so much, Trufillia. That concludes our Q&A session.
Thanks, Renee. And again, thanks, Kevin, Steve, and Tammy, and Dayton for hopping on to help out and assist. We have a couple of updates from our organization, but I just wanted to again say thank you to the team from South Carolina for not only partnering for the March 3rd event, but also for taking the time to make sure that attendees are well prepared to have a successful engagement on March 3rd by having this webinar today. So I think I learned a little bit. I think the attendees did as well. And I hope that everyone is walking away with a nugget or two that they can use as they prepare for the countdown for Success event on March 3rd. So we're going to have a couple updates from OSBP, and then we're going to wrap up today's webinar. Next slide, please. So this is just a note about an upcoming event that we have at NASA. It's actually next week. The NASA Office of STEM Engagement is hosting this event. And it's the NASA HBCU MSI Engagement Workshop at the CIAA. And that entire conference this year, I believe, is virtual. So this event is taking place on February the 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. And if you're interested, or if your colleague or another individual might be interested in participating at that event, it's a great opportunity to hear more from the Office of STEM Engagement about the agency's HBCU MSI initiatives. NASA's the only federal agency that actually has a 1% HBCU goal. So our office definitely tries to support this event. I'll be there, as well as some of our small business specialists, and some universities and other partners will be there as well. And I believe there's no cost to attend this event. Next slide, please. So we all know, about this event. This is a countdown to Success Supplier Summit with the supplier matchmaking session. So again, this is just a plug for those of you on the line who are already registered and ready to go. Great. If you're still on the fence, take a moment to visit the link at the bottom of the page and go ahead and register for that event. I think you will be glad that you did. Next slide. So this is a snapshot of our webinar. So today we are here, What to Know Before You Go. Next month, we have How to Do Business with the NASA Shared Services Research Center. I think I mentioned Mr. Troy Miller earlier today. What we try to do is alternate the months that we highlight a center. And between those times we have a topic. We like to highlight the centers because, again, that's an opportunity for you to meet and engage with our small business specialists that, again, are your kind of frontline defense at the center that you might be interested in working at. So if you have opportunity, join us on March 17th, and I think you'll be glad you did as well. Next slide, please. And then these are just the various ways that you can connect with us. Someone mentioned, I think Renee mentioned earlier, we're all in this virtual environment, and we're all just doing the best that we can. Most of our information you can access through our website, which is, excuse me, www.osbp.nasa.gov. There you'll find information, general information about our program, as well as our contact, our webinar series, our outreach events. We do have a mobile app where you can download our contracts, our recurring buy contracts are listed there. We call them our active contract list. So those are available through our mobile app. And next is social media. You can find that there as well. Next slide, please. Again, this is a snapshot of how to connect with us via the web. We have all of our information there, or by phone or email, however you'd like to reach us. We are available to assist you. And with that, I would really just like to, again, thank our esteemed panel for joining us today. Thank you, Renee and Brianna, for guiding us through today and all of our technical little nuances, but we made it. So thank you all, and hopefully we'll see you all on March 3rd. Have a good day.